Have you ever noticed something strange? The men who try the hardest to impress women often end up being ignored, while another man, quieter, calmer, seemingly less concerned, somehow becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. Why? What does he have that others don't? It isn't always money, it isn't always looks, and it certainly isn't because he says all the right things. In fact, many women are drawn to a quality that most men completely overlook: a calm presence. A man who doesn't panic when things become uncertain. A man who doesn't chase attention. A man who doesn't need to prove his worth every time he walks into a room. Because in a world filled with noise, emotional reactions, and constant validation seeking, calmness has become rare. And what is rare becomes powerful. But here's the deeper question. Why does a calm man create such a strong emotional impact on women? What is happening beneath the surface that makes his presence feel different? And why do so many men spend years developing the wrong qualities while completely ignoring the one trait that quietly commands respect, attraction, and trust? Welcome to Magnetic Masculinity. In today's video, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind the calm man women find irresistible. Now let's get started. Part 1. Calmness is not weakness. It is power under control. One of the biggest misconceptions about masculinity is that strength must be loud. Many men grow up believing they need to dominate every conversation, prove themselves in every room, and constantly display confidence for others to see. They think power is something that must be announced, something that must be demonstrated, something that must be seen. But life has a way of teaching a very different lesson. The older you get, the more you begin to notice something strange. The men who demand attention rarely keep it, and the men who quietly command respect rarely ask for it. A calm man understands something that most people never do. He understands that true strength is not the ability to control others. It is the ability to control himself. Anyone can raise their voice when they feel disrespected. Anyone can react when emotions take over. Anyone can become aggressive when their ego feels threatened. But remaining composed when emotions are pulling you in every direction? That is rare, and rarity creates value. Think about the moments in life when people naturally look toward a leader. It isn't usually when everything is going well. It's during uncertainty, during conflict, during pressure. People instinctively look for the person who remains steady when everyone else becomes emotional. Because calmness creates trust. It communicates something powerful without saying a single word. It says, I am not controlled by fear. I am not controlled by panic. I do not need immediate validation to feel secure. And women notice this more than most men realize, not because they are analyzing every detail consciously, but because emotional stability creates a feeling of safety. A calm man doesn't need to win every argument. He doesn't need to prove he is right. He doesn't become defensive over every criticism. His self-worth is not hanging by a thread. It comes from somewhere deeper, from knowing who he is. And when a man reaches that point, something changes. His presence becomes more powerful than his words. His silence becomes more noticeable than someone else's noise. And people begin to feel his confidence before he ever speaks. Because true masculine energy has never been about being the loudest man in the room. It has always been about being the most grounded. And that is where real attraction begins. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you something. In your opinion, what is more attractive in a man, confidence or calmness? Type confidence or calmness in the comments below and tell us why. I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspective, and your answer might help other men see this topic from a different angle. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing to the channel. Every subscription helps Magnetic Masculinity continue creating thoughtful content about masculine confidence, emotional strength, self-respect, and personal growth. Your support means more than you know. Now, let's continue, because what you're about to learn next may completely change the way you understand attraction. Part 2. Why women feel safe around a calm man. There is something many men misunderstand about attraction. They assume women are only attracted to excitement, the charm, the confidence, the humor, the thrill of uncertainty. And while those things can certainly create interest, they are not what creates deep attraction. Because attraction may capture attention, but trust is what keeps it. And trust is built on one thing above all else: emotional safety. Now, when most people hear the phrase emotional safety, they imagine something soft or passive. But in reality, it is one of the strongest qualities a man can possess. A woman can meet a man who is successful, attractive, and charismatic. But if his emotions are unpredictable, if his mood changes with every inconvenience, if his reactions are driven by anger, jealousy, or insecurity, she will never fully relax around him. She may be intrigued, she may be entertained, but she will not feel safe. And without safety, attraction eventually struggles to grow. This is where the calm man becomes different. His greatest strength is not that he never experiences emotion, it's that he is not controlled by it. When challenges appear, he doesn't immediately panic. When disagreements happen, he doesn't explode. When life becomes uncertain, he doesn't lose himself. He remains centered, grounded, present. And that stability creates a powerful effect on everyone around him. Think about it. When you're sitting beside someone who is calm during a crisis, you naturally begin to feel calmer yourself. Their energy influences yours. Their composure becomes contagious. This is why true calmness is so attractive, not because it is impressive, but because it makes other people feel secure. A calm man communicates a message without ever saying it. He says, "No matter what happens, I can handle it." And that message is incredibly powerful, especially in today's world. Many people are carrying invisible stress, financial pressure, family problems, career uncertainty, relationship struggles. Everyone is fighting battles that others cannot see. So when someone encounters a person who remains steady despite life's chaos, it stands out. It feels different. It feels rare. And women notice that rarity, not because they are searching for perfection, but because they are searching for consistency. A man who is calm today and calm tomorrow. A man whose values do not change depending on his mood. A man who doesn't become a completely different person when things stop going his way. That kind of emotional consistency creates trust, and trust creates connection. The truth is, anyone can appear confident when life is easy. Anyone can appear strong when everything is going according to plan. But real character is revealed when things become difficult, when expectations are not met, when disappointment arrives, when uncertainty enters the room. That is when emotional maturity becomes visible, and that is why the calm man is so powerful. Not because he never feels fear, not because he never feels pain, but because he refuses to let those emotions control his actions. Over time, people begin to recognize something special about him. He doesn't create chaos, he creates stability. He doesn't make others feel nervous, he makes them feel understood. And in a world full of emotional turbulence, that kind of presence becomes almost magnetic. Because deep down, everyone is looking for someone who can remain steady when the storm arrives. And that is exactly what a calm man does. Without effort, without performance, without needing to prove anything at all. Part 3. Why calm men never need validation. One of the most attractive qualities a man can possess is something that cannot be bought, taught overnight, or faked for very long. It is the ability to live without constantly seeking validation. Most people don't realize how much of their behavior is driven by the desire for approval. They want others to admire them, respect them, choose them, notice them. And while this desire is completely human, it becomes dangerous when it starts controlling a man's identity. Because the moment your self-worth depends on other people's opinions, your peace becomes fragile. A compliment can lift you up. A rejection can destroy your confidence. A text message can determine your mood for the entire day. And without realizing it, you become emotionally dependent on things you cannot control. The calm man lives differently. He does not build his confidence on attention. He builds it on character. He doesn't need constant reassurance that he is valuable, because he has already done the inner work required to believe it himself. This doesn't mean he thinks he's better than others. It doesn't mean he's arrogant. In fact, truly calm men are often surprisingly humble. The difference is that they no longer feel the need to prove themselves every moment of every day. Think about how many men exhaust themselves trying to impress people. They carefully choose their words. They overthink every interaction. They worry about how they are perceived. They chase approval without even realizing it. And the irony is that the harder they try to be accepted, the less authentic they become. Because fear is guiding their behavior, not confidence. The calm man understands a truth that takes many years to learn. Not everyone will appreciate you. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will choose you, and that's okay. Because his value does not rise and fall based on someone else's opinion. That realization changes everything. When a man stops seeking validation, he begins speaking more honestly. He sets stronger boundaries. He becomes less afraid of disappointing people. He becomes less afraid of rejection. And perhaps most importantly, he becomes less afraid of being alone. That last point is where true freedom begins. Many people stay in unhealthy situations because they fear loneliness. They tolerate disrespect. They accept less than they deserve. They betray their own standards simply to avoid being abandoned. But a calm man understands that being alone is not the same as being empty. He has built a relationship with himself. He enjoys his own company. He has goals to pursue, challenges to overcome, and a life that continues moving forward, whether someone is standing beside him or not. And there is something incredibly powerful about that. Because people can sense when someone needs them, but they can also sense when someone has chosen himself. Women in particular often notice this difference immediately, not because they are looking for a man who doesn't care, but because they are naturally drawn to men who are emotionally secure. A man who can enjoy a relationship without making it his entire identity. A man who can love deeply without losing himself. A man who gives attention freely, not desperately. And that distinction matters. Because desperation pushes people away. Security draws them closer. The calm man doesn't walk into a room wondering if everyone will like him. He walks into a room knowing that he will be fine either way. And that quiet certainty creates a presence that is difficult to ignore. Not because he demands attention, but because he doesn't need it. And sometimes, the men who need validation the least become the men others respect the most. Part 4. The silent power of presence. Have you ever met someone who barely spoke, yet somehow commanded the entire room? Not because they were famous, not because they were the loudest, and certainly not because they were trying to impress anyone. Yet when they entered a room, people noticed. When they spoke, people listened. And when they left, people remembered them. That is the power of presence, and it is one of the rarest forms of masculine strength. Most men spend years trying to become more interesting. They focus on saying the perfect thing, telling better stories, being funnier, being more entertaining. They believe attraction is created by constantly capturing attention. But the calm man understands something different. Attention is cheap. Presence is priceless. Because presence is not about what you say. It's about how people feel when they are around you. Think about it. Some people speak endlessly, yet leave no impression. Others say very little, yet their words seem to carry weight. Why? Because people are not only listening to words, they are responding to energy, to certainty, to emotional stability, to authenticity, and nothing destroys presence faster than the desperate need to be noticed. When a man constantly seeks attention, people can feel it. He interrupts, he overshares, he tries too hard to prove his value. Every conversation becomes a performance. Every interaction becomes a test. And eventually others begin to feel exhausted around him. The calm man is different. He doesn't enter every room trying to win. He doesn't treat every conversation like an opportunity to prove himself. He doesn't need to dominate attention because he already possesses something far more powerful. Self-assurance, the kind that cannot be manufactured, the kind that comes from years of experience, mistakes, lessons, and personal growth. Because true presence is born from inner certainty. A man who knows who he is has nothing to defend. nothing to exaggerate, nothing to prove. And that creates a remarkable effect. He listens more carefully, speaks more intentionally, reacts less impulsively, and as a result, people naturally become more curious about him. There is a quiet confidence in men who are comfortable with silence. Most people rush to fill every pause, every gap, every moment of discomfort. But the calm man understands that silence is not weakness. Silence is space. And within that space, people reveal themselves. They talk more. They share more. They trust more. Meanwhile, the calm man observes. He pays attention. He understands before he speaks. And that ability is becoming increasingly rare. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, very few people truly know how to listen. Yet listening is often what creates the deepest connections. Women especially notice this, not because they are attracted to silence itself, but because genuine presence makes them feel seen. A calm man doesn't merely wait for his turn to speak. He pays attention. He absorbs details. He remains present in the moment. And presence is something people remember long after words are forgotten. Years from now, very few people will remember exactly what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. Whether they felt judged, whether they felt ignored, whether they felt understood. That is why presence matters so much. It goes beyond appearance, beyond charm, beyond status. It touches something deeper, the human need to feel safe, heard, and understood. And when a man develops that level of presence, something extraordinary begins to happen. People stop focusing on what he is saying and start paying attention to who he is. Because real influence has never come from volume. It has always come from substance. And the calm man carries that substance everywhere he goes, without forcing it, without advertising it, without asking for recognition, which is exactly why recognition finds him anyway. Part 5. The man who cannot be shaken. At the deepest level, the attraction of a calm man has very little to do with women, and everything to do with how he lives his life. Because long before he became attractive to others, he learned how to become solid within himself. Most people spend their lives being controlled by circumstances. When things go well, they feel confident. When things go badly, they lose faith in themselves. When they receive praise, they feel valuable. When they face rejection, they question their worth. Their emotional state rises and falls with whatever happens around them. But the calm man eventually learns a different way to live. He learns that if his peace depends on perfect circumstances, he will never truly have peace at all. Because life is unpredictable. People leave, plans fail, opportunities disappear, mistakes happen, disappointment arrives without warning, and no amount of strength can prevent every storm. The question is not whether difficulties will come. The question is who you become when they do. This is where the calm man separates himself from the crowd, not because he avoids pain, but because pain no longer defines him. He has learned that every challenge carries a lesson. Every setback carries an opportunity for growth. Every rejection carries a hidden form of freedom. What once would have broken him now teaches him. What once would have controlled him now strengthens him. And over time, he develops something that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or imitated: inner stability. The ability to remain grounded regardless of what is happening around him. That kind of stability is rare. Most people are constantly searching for something external to save them. More money, more status, more attention, more approval. They believe that once they obtain the next thing, they will finally feel secure. But security that depends on external conditions is always temporary. The calm man understands this. That is why he focuses on building something deeper: character, discipline, wisdom, self-respect. Because those qualities remain when everything else changes. And perhaps that is why women find calm men so irresistible. Not because they are perfect, not because they never struggle, not because they have all the answers, but because they possess something that feels increasingly rare in today's world. They possess certainty. Not certainty about the future, not certainty about other people, but certainty about themselves. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. They know what they will tolerate and what they won't. And that certainty creates a powerful sense of direction. A man who knows where he stands is difficult to manipulate, difficult to intimidate, difficult to shake. He does not need everyone to agree with him. He does not need everyone to understand him. He does not need constant validation to keep moving forward. His confidence comes from within, and that is what makes him different. Because when a man's confidence comes from external approval, it can be taken away. But when it comes from character, nothing can touch it. This is the final lesson. The calm man is not attractive because he tries to be. He is attractive because he has built a life that does not revolve around being attractive. He has built a life around purpose, around growth, around self-mastery. And in doing so, he becomes something far more powerful than simply desirable. He becomes unshakable. And when a man reaches that point, something remarkable happens. He no longer spends his life chasing respect. Respect finds him. He no longer spends his life chasing attention. Attention finds him. He no longer spends his life chasing validation. Validation becomes unnecessary because he has already found what most people spend their entire lives searching for, a quiet confidence that cannot be taken away. And that, more than anything else, is what makes the calm man truly unforgettable. Conclusion. As we reach the end of this video, remember this. The women who are most attracted to a calm man are not responding to silence, mystery, or clever tactics. They are responding to something much deeper, a man who is comfortable with himself. The real lesson is not to become more attractive. The real lesson is to become more grounded. Build emotional control, strengthen your character. Stop letting every opinion, rejection, or setback determine your worth. Starting today, practice staying calm when others react emotionally. Listen more than you speak. Focus on your purpose instead of seeking validation. The more secure you become within yourself, the less you will need approval from the outside world. And that's the paradox. The man who no longer chases attention often becomes the man who naturally attracts it. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below and share the biggest lesson you learned today. And if you want more content on masculine confidence, emotional strength, self-respect, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to Magnetic Masculinity and turn on notifications. Your support helps this channel continue creating powerful content for men who want to become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more respected. Thank you for watching. And remember, a calm man does not control the world around him. He controls himself. And that is where true power begins. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end of the video. See you in the next videos.